Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here. On today's episode of The Guns That Shaped Me, we're going to talk about the first AR-15 that I ever built, which I dubbed the Classy AR. Now, a lot of people in my previous videos with this rifle mentioned that it's just a base AR-15. And you're right, that's what it ended up being. But the original intent for this rifle was to be something a little more special. It was supposed to have wood furniture from a company called, I think it was Ironwood Designs. And they basically made wooden furniture for AR-15s, AK-47s, FN FALs, all these different rifles. Mainly, I think their main claim to fame was the AR-15, and you could get it in with the traditional triangular handguard like they had on the original M16s. And that just, to me, it looked really cool, especially with the right stain and everything on the rifle. It just looked really cool. It just really stood out, and to me was a classy AR-15. So that was the goal. Now, when I first, let's back up a minute. So back in the day, I didn't really care for AR-15s that much. I wasn't into tacti-cool firearms with the rails and the pistol grips and all the attachments and the scopes and lasers. I wasn't really into all of that stuff. I was more into guns that I would consider classy. Guns with wood stocks on them, like the M1 Garand or the Mini 14, which is my favorite rifle, hence the name Redneck Mini 14. And I also really liked lever action rifles with the nice glossy wooden stocks and the fancy blued finish and all that kind of stuff. Those were guns that I would consider to be classy versus tactical. And while this particular AR-15 isn't exactly tactical, it's still more tactical than a gun like the M1 Garand. So the whole thing with building this rifle was that it was going to be my first AR-15, and AR-15s were kind of growing on me at this point, so I really wanted my first AR-15 build to be special. Obviously you can go out and just buy your own AR-15 from whatever manufacturer that there was, and obviously there's still tons and tons of manufacturers making AR-15s, but I kind of liked the idea of building your own and just making it the way you wanted it. And it was cheaper to do. Well, not necessarily cheaper to do, but you could buy a lower receiver for not a lot of money, an upper receiver for not a lot of money, and just buy parts kits here and there. You only had to pay the FFL fee for the receiver. And in fact, I don't remember if I got this receiver through the gun shop, like if they already had this one in stock, or if I actually ordered that one online. I don't remember where I got this particular one from. But anyway, like the stripped lower receiver, like it was probably like $60 back then, and the stripped upper was probably like $50. I don't even remember. So I liked the idea of just being able to buy parts and parts kits, and over time you would just have all the parts and you could put them all together. And so anyway, like I said, I originally was going to put wooden furniture from the company Ironwood Designs on this rifle. That was the original plan. And, what I ended up doing was I got all the parts that I needed to build the rifle, and I was so anxious to build it, so I decided what I was going to do was just build the rifle and then save up the extra $300 or $400, however much it was going to be, later on, and put the wood furniture on. So what I did was I made a video series of me building this rifle, and some of those videos have been taken down by YouTube because of their community guidelines, whatever. So unfortunately, you can't see all of those videos. I think some of them might still be up. Fingers crossed, but they're not all there because they think that you're manufacturing a firearm, which is totally bogus. You're assembling a firearm, you're not manufacturing it. I don't have machinery and I'm not milling out things. Anyway, that's besides the point. So I made this rifle. This was my first AR-15 build, and I decided I wanted to experience every aspect of building the rifle as much as I could. So I went with a stripped lower receiver. This is an Anderson lower receiver, and I think it was a stripped Anderson upper receiver too, which Anderson is no longer around, unfortunately. They were like the cheapest, they made the cheapest AR-15 parts and stuff, which that's unfortunate. So I went with the Anderson just because of price, basically. A lot of people like them, a lot of people don't like them. I have had no problems with them. I think it was a CMMG lower parts kit. I think this is a UTG A2 style buttstock and buffer tube and all that. I honestly, this maybe like an NC Star carry handle. So the whole idea with this was it was supposed to be an A2 style build, except I didn't use an A2 upper receiver. I actually used an A4 receiver and just put the A2 style carry handle on, which to me that was good enough. I didn't really necessarily care one way or the other if it was a true A2 upper receiver. That just didn't really matter to me. And then the barrel is actually it was a Stag Arms 20-inch H-bar barrel. So this is a full-length rifle gas system, direct impingement, obviously, and full-length 20-inch barrel with the A2, anyway, it's got the flash suppressor and all that, A2 style sight and all that kind of stuff. So it's essentially like an A2/A4 style build. It has the nice, thick, heavy barrel. And my plan was to get the Ironwood Designs wood. So basically it would be like an A1 style pistol grip. I think that the stock was an A2 length because the A1 is a little bit shorter. And then it would have been the A1 style front handguard where it was the triangular handguard. And I was going to get it, I don't even remember if they had it in like different wood options, like if you can get it in walnut versus birch or whatever. But that was the type of furniture it was going to have on it. And what happened was I built the rifle, and every time I would save up a couple $100, something else would catch my eye, and I would put that on layaway, and then I wouldn't have the money to buy the wood furniture. And this happened several times, and then eventually I just never got around to doing it. And I actually learned later on that the owner of Ironwood Designs actually died of a heart attack, and the company basically doesn't exist anymore. Now, I think his family and his employees, I don't know much about the actual business, but whoever was running the business after he died said that they promised they would either get the wood furniture out to those customers that already had orders, or they would refund them their money. And so, that's good that at least they were going to make good on the orders that were already placed. it's very unfortunate that he died, unfortunately. I can't even remember what the guy's name was, but that's just very unfortunate. I think he died actually very young, like in his 40s or 50s. So anyway, that company is no longer around, and as far as I know, there aren't any other companies that make the exact furniture that I was looking for. There's, I think, maybe one company that makes a similar style of wood furniture, at least as far as like the handguard and the stock goes. I think the problem was that the pistol grip that they offer is different, and it actually has like finger grooves maybe. I'd have to look it up again, but I was interested in like the handguard and the stock, but it was the pistol grip that really turned me off, and I was trying to figure out where I could get like a wooden pistol grip that was this profile that I wanted. And I don't think I could ever find one. I could look again and see if I could find something now. Maybe somebody else came out with something since then, because that was probably at least a year ago. But as of right now, I don't really have any plans on putting wood furniture on this unless I find something that really piques my interest. Like, I know Boyd's stocks and there's a few other companies that make wood, but it's like it's wood, but it's tactical wood. It's just, I don't know, it's not as classy as I wanted it to be, and just, I don't know, it's just not what I'm looking for when it all comes down to it. So I don't know, maybe sometime in the future I'll actually put the wood furniture on it that I was wanting to, or at least something similar. But for now, I'm perfectly fine with it being just a basic A2, A4 style build with, no extra bells and whistles. I mean, anyway, this was just, it's a really nice rifle. I've put several magazines through it over the years. And since then, I've built 2 other AR-15s. I built a mid-gas system AR-15 with a 16-inch barrel, and I built one that was a pistol that is in 300 blackout that I actually made for deer hunting. And I don't know if I'll ever build any more AR-15s, but if I do, I actually have a few ideas. I just, there's so many other things that I need to put my money towards now that aren't even gun related. You mean, every once in a while I would like to get a new gun or to add to the collection, but I don't know if I really necessarily need to add another AR-15 to the collection anytime soon, but you never know. So anyway, that is the very first AR-15 that I ever built, and the first AR-15 that I ever owned also. All the AR-15s that I have, I built, and I honestly kind of prefer to build my AR-15s as opposed to buying them, because I can make it whatever I want. If I want it to be basic, it can be basic. If I want it to be fancy and tacty cool, I can do that as well from the ground up. I don't have to buy a rifle that was somebody else's idea and then change it to be the way I want it to be. So anyway, that's the classy AR-15, or what was going to be the classy AR-15.
Hey, before I go, I just thought I'd remind everybody that I do have a second channel called Redneck Off the Range. Over there, I post most of my non-gun related content, so whether it's a video on my new tractor, my power tools, my projects that I'm working on, maybe wild game recipes, or just a random vlog, I post all of this kind of content over on my secondary channel. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check it out, Redneck Off the Range. But that's all for this video, so subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.